It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission, I always like to let you know, is to provide you, the entrepreneur, the hardworking entrepreneur, with the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Tye Miles, who's in the building right now, a repeat guest, by the way, and a rock star herself. First, let me say hello. What's up, Tye? How are you?
What's up, Shay? It is always a delight to be here on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. So I'm happy to be back here with you.
Well, it's an honor to have you here as well, by the way. Now, where are you in the world today? Are you traveling? Are you in Phoenix? Where are you in the world?
I'm back home, Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama, in the building. My brother went to Talladega, by the way. That's where he met his wife
Oh,
of the
yeah.
last 27 years. Loves it down there. But on this episode, for those folks that are tuning in, thank you so much for being here. You're wondering, okay, Shay, she's going to talk about how to build resilience in small business. Yes, Shay, I saw the title, How to Thrive. But can she at least start off and tell us what, in her view of the world, is the number one or one of the biggest challenges that are facing entrepreneurs today that are really preventing them from being the best version of themselves?
Yeah, so this is very good. And let me just go in and just share a little bit about what I do to sort of bring it into context. I'm a personal branding expert. I am a certified personal coach, and I work with entrepreneurs from new up to 8 figures, teaching them how to create profitable brands that are authentic, fulfilling, and of course allows them to have the best of both worlds. You can be successful without sacrificing yourself. In addition to that, I am the COO of Media to Millions, where we specialize in teaching women, but entrepreneurs overall, how to create successful online businesses. So in the context of that, one of the biggest challenges that we're seeing happen right now in this economy, because I do believe that we are facing an economic downturn, it's two things. On the one hand is how do we generate more revenue, understanding that buyers are more discerning because they're more careful around how they're spending their hard-earned money, again, because we are in this economic downturn. But on the flip side of the coin, when we're talking about on one end, we're talking about generating revenue and getting people to trust us with their money, trust us to help them solve their big problem that they're facing in a period of time when we have to be conscious about how we spend. On the other side, we have entrepreneurs, we have those coaches and consultants that I work with every day that are internally faced with, how do I continue to show up in a way? How do I present my products, present my services in a way that clearly communicates what it is that I do that is deserving of that hard-earned money that consumers are investing into the success of their business or in their life. And so I bring those two together by helping them combat the challenge of showing up authentically, identifying what does authentic branding feels like, what does authentic messaging looks like for me, and how that will resonate with their audience so that they can ultimately serve at the highest level without sacrificing their integrity, with doing it in a dignified way that honors both the consumer and also honors the brand of the mission of the brand. I'm sorry.
Now, I like that. Now, when you say showing up authentic, for those folks who went to DC public schools like me, by the way, they're like, well, I am showing up. I'm not the imposter, by the way. So, Shay, can she define kind of what does showing up authentic mean, so I can kind of understand it? Because I'm me every day. I mean, what is she talking about? I am me. Me is me, and me is I. So, can you take a moment and slow down, and then we'll speed back up and kind of talk about what you mean by being
Absolutely.
authentic and your authentic self?
Yeah, and I hear that a lot, and I get that a lot. Authentic has become sort of a buzzword. You hear it
Yeah.
over and over and over again. For me, being authentic is really centered on knowing what your core values are, understanding what do you want to describe the core essence of who you are, and making sure that you are not only being these things, exuding those qualities as an individual, but you are layering in those qualities intentionally throughout your product creation, throughout your brand experience, so that it is consistent throughout the totality of your brand experience. And so oftentimes we might see where, we talk about comparing ourselves to other people. I see it all the time where entrepreneurs feel like they have to do it a certain way in order to get a certain result. So when I'm talking about being authentic, I'm talking about showing up and serving in a way that feels good for you and feels good for your consumer, not just doing it because there's an expectation in the marketplace or an expectation in the industry that you should do or show up a certain way in order to achieve a certain result.
Man, I know we were in the green room. Thanks for sharing. We were in the green room. You were talking a little bit about, but Shay, there's the individual himself. So there's the brand. I don't know if that's the company, and maybe you can help me out here. And then there's the individual. And you was kind of making the point that the individual, Shay, is going through a lot right now. That you need to work with the individual. I guess you got to be a leader of one for you, a leader of many. So take a moment and just talk to that busy mom that's out there right now, that busy dad that's out there. They've got to take care of their family. Many of our entrepreneurs, Tye, they're 9-to-5ers. They're dualpreneurs. So they work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur and they're involved in their community and other organizations. So can you, and they can find themselves in overwhelm, to be honest with you. Take a moment and kind of speak to them because they want to get this entrepreneurship right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're bringing this full circle. So, one of the primary ways that I support women, primarily, you mentioned talk to the mother out there, but this definitely applies to anyone on this journey. One of the ways I help them is with the personal branding. But what I always experience and sort of my own method of helping an individual create a brand is starting from the inside out. And so, where does your business live within branding? Because we have business branding. You mentioned that, Shay. But I like to help the individual focus on developing the personal brand first. The personal brand is that overarching brand, and your business brand or your company brand lives within the overarching personal brand. I like to focus on the personal brand, which one of the things I love about the personal brand is that it gives you the ability to pivot between your brilliance, pivot between your, various professional interests. It doesn't hold you to only showing up in one way as an expert. So understanding your personal brand, again, gives you flexibility in this marketplace, which is super important right now. So that's just a sidebar. But what is showing up right now for many entrepreneurs who are in this space of personal branding is that to that mother, to that father, to that person who is on this journey right now at this time, wanting to continue to perform, but alleviate some of the pressure. Because I think right now, what I'm seeing from the individuals that I work with is that there's a lot of pressure to perform. And especially for those that are 9-to-5, this is you're a dualpreneur, right? You're working your 9-to-5 and building your business on the side. You have pressure to perform in both arenas on your 9-to-5, and there's pressure to perform and create results in your own business. So naturally you can see how the external drivers, which is, doing the task, doing the actions that are required to be successful in both of those areas, can create some internal frustration or create some internal friction. So I believe in these times where there's extra pressure to perform, we have to make sure that we're building in time to make sure that we are nourishing ourselves on a mind, body, spirit level so that we can avoid burnout. Here's what I know is that when you're in that space where you're trying to do, you're being performative, you're chasing that next goal or chasing that next task, it can become overwhelming. You can become discouraged if you're not hitting those markers or hitting those goals that you may want to. You can experience some discouragement if you don't feel that things are coming along as fast as you want them. And also, if, and for many of us that are entrepreneurs, we're here because we want to control our own earning potential so that we can have the lifestyles and provide the type of lifestyle we want for our families. So again, you also have that pressure internal and external, to ensure that you are generating enough revenue in your company or earning enough income to provide for your family. So we want to do well. Again, this creates that internal pressure, and it takes us back to having to prioritize our well-being. Success is defined by each one of us different, but what is success if you have to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your sanity in the process of achieving it? And there's a way to have the best of those both worlds. So I love this conversation because for me, as a personal branding expert, I'm also having the opportunity to, focus and play in another sandbox or passion of mine, which is personal development. I get to play the inside out game, and help my clients pursue their personal brand, create that and design that the way that they want, so that it's profitable. But again, so that it's authentic and fulfilling, allows them to have that holistic view of success.
They're reading your bio now as you're going through this, and you're making some really good points. They said, "Okay, Shay, I get it. I learn a little about her. I'm looking below. Some of them are googling you right now, just typing in your name and they're googling you, and you are who Google say you are, right? But that's not true. You're not who Google say you are. You're who you are. So take a moment if you can, and we'll slow down for those folks that are tuning in. And you may not be reading it. Maybe you're listening to the podcast right now. We thank you so much for tuning in. Maybe you're on demand streaming it right now in your bed or your TV or watching it right now. So I'm going to ask Tye, just take a moment, tell us who is she, number one, and what's her backstory, right? The backstory that led her to be so passionate. You can hear her passion. It's personal branding. You hear the passion. Get it right. You hear this passionate. She believes you can have it all. Let's find out the backstory. So tell them a little about who is Tye.
Yeah. So overall, I like to say I am an individual who believes in expressing all of who she is. My beingness is very bright, vibrant. My beingness is close to my expression of who I am, not only in how I show up, but how I show up well in terms of my fashion, in terms of my expertise. And it goes back many years ago in my former career. I was a hairstylist, salon owner, built a seven-figure brand in the beauty industry, which was all around helping individuals look their best on the outside, and led me to some incredible success. And I like to say that career, a lot of that success was really garnered around doing, and doing with the motive of proving others wrong and proving to others that I was enough. And so the last half of my career, the former half of my career, was really based on doing. And I wasn't as happy. I was successful. I had the paycheck. I had the lifestyle. My family loves me. I was very active in church, very active in my community, and was very much so a leader and a pillar in those places. But I was still not satisfied. There was something missing. I knew that I was meant for more. And I made a decision at that moment to not limit myself. I made a decision in that moment to shift from, my former way of doing things, which was based on doing for the sake of proving to others and myself that I was good enough, to this other side of, being. I wanted to live in my meant for more. I wanted to be all that I believe that creator designed me to be. And so I really uprooted. For me, I uprooted my former lifestyle, sold that salon and everything that came along with that. Not the relationships. I still had a lot of beautiful relationships. And I really pivoted, living personal branding, pivoted into another passion. The first passion was helping people look beautiful on the outside in terms of their beauty, right? In terms of their hair. And I chose to pivot. My success would focus on helping other women specifically build successful personal brands as coaches and consultants, which is what I do today, helping individuals express their same beauty and brilliance, but instead of focusing on external beauty, how can we help them really pull out and share that internal brilliance, that internal beauty with the world, which is their expertise, which is their knowledge, and help them build businesses from that. So it's a nice, beautiful pivot, a nice full circle moment. That gives you a little bit about my background in terms of where I come from, the wealth of expertise and experience I've had as a business owner in the space of personal branding, having done it for myself, to the tune of creating a very successful business brand. And now I'm helping other people do the same thing, but do it even better because I've learned so much along the way.
And along the way of learning, thanks for sharing your backstory. We love to hear the backstory. So thank you so much. Wonderful story. You're out there doing the doggone thing. One of the things I admire about you is your heart to give and your heart to serve. One of the questions I love asking on the show is of all the mentors you've had, because you talk about so much you've done, by the way. If you had to take one mentor and one idea from that mentor and share it with us, the audience, what would it be? And you, if you're here every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you knew this was going to happen. So you can just go ahead and lean forward. For everyone else is like, what is going on? Lean forward now, because you get to take one of the core values of one of Tye's mentors and you get to apply it in your life. You get to use it for the rest of your life. Isn't that kind of cool? Now, she's had a lot, so she got to pick any one mentor. And then she'll give us a name. You got to pick a mentor. And what's one of the lessons you learned?
Yeah, so if I had to choose a mentor, this mentor would be the incredible Andrea J. Lee. I met her within a high level mentorship program that I invested in as I was starting my journey as a coach, as a speaker. She was one of my personal mentors. And during the progress of our time working together, one of the things she said to me, she was like, Tye, you have done so much and you have experienced so much, but she also recognized that there was so much more in me. And so one of the things that she sort of gifted me was a little black bird. And so this was not necessarily a quote, but it's something that I definitely live by and I continue to pass along to each individual that I mentor now. But she gave me a little black bird, a little wooden black bird. I don't have it here with me. Had I known you was going to ask this question, Shay, I would definitely have made sure I had it with me. But this little black bird represents rebirth. And she said, Tye, you've been so much, you've done so much, and I carry a lot of what I've done in my past forward with me. But she reminded me that there are some spaces, some spaces and some things that I had evolved from. I had outgrown, and she's like, it's time for you to graduate. And that little black bird represents rebirth. So we had a little graduation ceremony, and this was years ago. And even recently, a couple of days ago, we spoke, and she reminded me of that little black bird. And she's like, Tye, yet again, you are transitioning. You've outgrown some things. You've outgrown some people. You've outgrown some spaces. And it's time to graduate. It's time for you to have a graduation celebration. And so for those of you that are listening in, this is me really stepping into my Andrea J. Lee. And I am encouraging you by saying it's time to have a graduation party. There are some things that you have outgrown. There are some things that no longer serve you. There are some spaces and some people that you've done what you can do in that space and you've graduated. And so acknowledge the growth, acknowledge the contribution, acknowledge the value and all that you have contributed to that experience, and then recognize in total awareness that you graduated and give yourself a celebration. It's time for a rebirth. It's time to step into your next. And so that right there, that is near and dear to my heart, and I'm often reminded of it.
Wow, thanks. Very powerful. I guess what I was thinking while you were speaking there was, I'm curious, what does Tye do for fun, right? When she's not out saving the world, helping these entrepreneurs have this personal brand, if we could peek behind the curtain and find out what does she do for fun, Shay, when she's not saving the world? Tell us.
Yeah, so right now, fun looks like, because it changes, fun looks like really doing internal work. And not the heavy internal work, there's a place for that. But I'm talking about slowing things down. I have fun with meditation. I'm having fun, asking myself questions, really rediscovering myself and being playful with it, approaching it from a place of curiosity and not judgment. So I spend a lot of time in introspection and reflection these days. I'm really protective of my quiet time. It's actually fun to me because I'm learning about myself. I'm learning to master myself. And so that's what I would say I do for fun. Now, in addition to that, I love to travel and I love affirmational prayer. So that's another form. I think it's
you
close
can't
to
just leave us
meditation.
hanging. You can't leave us hanging, by the way. You can't say you love to travel and not tell us where you like to travel to. That's not fair. And then you can't tell us you love these affirmation prayers and not give us one or two of your affirmations. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. I'm going to ask the question. Number one, where do you like to travel? Because we're right on the edge of the seat. And then number two, and probably even more important, is what's one, two, or three of your affirmations that you could share with us?
Yeah, so where I love to travel, I love luxe travel at this point in life. I love experiences. So most recently, I've traveled to Mexico. I'm preparing to travel to Dubai. Outside of that, like when I'm with my family, because my husband and I, we do travel a lot alone. We travel with family. With family, we have really enjoying like staycations around Birmingham. There's so much. We're growing. We're doing new things. So that's like local, but it's very intentional and very fun just to spend that traveling outside of my home because I'm a homebody, but traveling and learning more about, Alabama and Birmingham, but, internationally, Mexico, Dubai is
She's
coming
the only person,
up.
ladies and gentlemen, that love to
Love
hang out in
being near water.
Alabama. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I love Alabama. She's the only person. I just like hanging out in Alabama, ladies and gentlemen. I just love it. It's just the place to be. No, I'm joking. It is at Birmingham, Alabama. She's proud of it. Proud. Nothing wrong
Yes.
with that as well. I love it. I love it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
And
interrupt.
then a couple of affirmations, Shay, that I say. I spend five minutes each night as part of my evening routine before I go to bed. But one of my top affirmation is really is I create my own reality. I create my own reality. And so that's one affirmation. Another series of words. These are not necessarily I am affirmations. And there's a whole backstory to that's another time together. But what I will say instead of I am affirmations, I've graduated to, just speaking specific words that are on the same frequency of abundance and success and wholeness that I'm looking to have in my lifestyle. So it's simply success. It's simply wealth. It's simply saying, a statement every night that everything and all of my interests are being prospered for me now. All of my interests and everything is being prospered for me now. And so I say those every single night before I go to bed. And that sort of allows me to close my eyes, having my mind focused on a place of peace and from a place of creating what it is that I want to see and experience in my life.
I love it. I love it, man. Thanks for being so authentic. I love it, by the way. Um, we have a segment here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks that are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. And I'll talk about what today is my January 1st means in a moment. But those that are regulars tuning in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can go ahead and say those words now. Today is my January 1st. That's right. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? Happy New Year to all of you, by the way. And for the new folks, welcome to the community. Today is my January 1st. It represents a personal mantra of ours. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter what that past is back there, no longer equals the future. Isn't that encouraging? So my question to Tye is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And what was one of your January 1st moments for you?
Yeah. So when I hear that word today is or that phrase, today is my January 1st, it reminds me of a new opportunity to do it differently, like to do something differently. And so if I would think of like a recent, I think I've had so many January 1st this year. I've just been hitting the dang on reset button so many times this year as what I like to call it, just feeling my way forward. But one particular I'm going to say, look at this more as a setback and a challenge. Uh, that I had to definitely hit the January 1 button on is really giving myself the space to enjoy more nourishing activities. As I shared before, a lot of what I have done and have created for myself in terms of success so far was really based off doing. And one of the things that I have intentionally promised myself is to do that differently. I want to do success, or I want to create success based off my being and not off my doing. And I think the two biggest things for me when I'm looking at what's the difference in, doing success and being successful, right? I believe that doing is really more goal oriented, goal driven. Like, goals are good for everybody. So I'm not saying that, we shouldn't have goals, but it's based off chasing the next goal. It's based off sort of a mentality of climbing your way to success. I want my January 1st is all around being successful. I want to be successful based off just being me. So that's why I've been doing a lot of work on being, understanding who I am, understanding my values, setting hard boundaries around those values, and then honoring myself by saying no to certain things, by saying yes to myself, saying yes to the type of opportunities, relationships that I know that I deserve, and being super intentional with protecting those things. So my January 1st Shay is really all about understanding exactly what it is that I want, setting boundaries around what it is that I want, and then again, just not betraying myself by going back to being in that mentality of doing, but really stand in a place where I'm being all who Tye is created. And I know that's a deeper conversation, not to be sounding really woo-woo, but it's really important that we are not just climbing the ladder towards success to get to the top to realize, I've done this thing wrong. This is not where I want to be. But I believe that if we use our core values as the North Star, it will guide us to the height of, our maximizing our potential. So.
Thank you so much, by the way. That's wonderful. As we come down the home stretch, two questions. Number one, what type of clients are you working with these days? So people are very clear. And number two, how can folks best connect with you over and beyond this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really love to work with women entrepreneurs. I mean, that is my sweet spot. I definitely have worked with a handful of men, and I love working with the brothers. But women entrepreneurs, specifically those I would say that are in the early stage or, mid-season within startup 0 to 5 years, they're looking to create a business, and they want this business to be centered around who they are. So they want this is birthed out of passion. This is birthed out of fulfilling a need that is, that they're passionate about, and one that they believe that serves a greater why beyond themselves. They're wanting to understand, how do I, bring myself to the work that I do in a way that's going to, yes, bring in profits, but in a way that's going to be personally fulfilling. There's a special way that you apply certain methods to ensure that you're building a brand that really expresses who you are in a way that magnetizes the right audience in, so that you can monetize it in an incredible way. And the best way to connect with me, number one, you can visit me at my website, which is TyeMiles.com. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads, the new platform Threads, at the Tye Miles.
Wow, so well. Let me first say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it. I encourage you all to connect with Tye Miles. Thank you, Tye.
Thank you, Shay.
And thank you, the viewer. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you, whether you found us on YouTube, whether you watch us every single night, or maybe you're on the podcast. Wherever you are, we're going to encourage you to subscribe. You can go right over to YouTube or any of the channels to type in at I am Che Brown. Subscribe to the channel so you get the latest and coolest and updates for all of the releases. With that being said, as I wait for every night to say these words, I just can't wait to say these words. I mean, I wait every night to remind you that you are incredible, to remind you that you're awesome, to remind you that you've got so much greatness inside you, that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, your best is still yet to come. Isn't that encouraging? Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name, in case you forgot, by the way, is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is long. Life is short. You got to live in the moment, and you got to make it count. God bless. We wish you success. Thanks so much, Tye. I appreciate you. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace. We out.